Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm Sam.
I'm Bernard.
Gonna enjoy this.
And I'm Trish.
And today we're continuing our playthrough of Legend of Legaia, covering Vidna and Jeremy. But before
Let's dance, asshole.
but before we get to all of that, how was everyone's week?
How are you soundboarding?
Magic.
You must teach me your ways.
Okay, well,
Here's how we do things.
it's a program called Voice Mod.
Oh, okay. I see. Bernard, how's your week?
A couple weeks ago, Sam showed me this program called Voice Mod, but it was making my voice sound all weird. Turns out, there's just a button you have to click to turn the voice changer off, and it'll make your microphone sound like your microphone. It'll make your microphone
Behave.
but you can also do a soundboard.
Beautiful.
Now, oh god, the thing is, if I can get something like that working, I'm going to misuse it because I'm going to find a way to give myself do a Dalek voice changey thing, or do a if that's within the thing's scopes, I would want to do shit like that.
Yeah. This is
I think the actual voice changing, other than the default that makes your voice sound really weird and overproduced, is a premium feature.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I don't like paying for things.
Me neither.
Which is why I just never get anything, because stealing's wrong, kids. But yeah, Bernard, what's going on with you?
Last week, I had 4 consecutive days off, and that was the best.
That sounds great.
Sorry,
Awesome.
I'm sleepy.
It's
Awesome.
okay. Well, in that case, since you're sleepy, I'll just So it's been a couple weeks. It's been a couple weeks since we recorded, and that's because, at least partially because I was just visiting my family. I went to go visit my parents in Oregon. I was there for a week. It was nice. I went there with my wife. My parents already met her before, but she got to meet my brother, my little sister, and we got to spend a bunch of time together. It was just a really lovely time. We both needed the vacation. And then I came home and immediately had 3 days of work in a row. So 3 12-hour shifts in a row, which frequently left me in a state where literally all I could do was go to work, come home, immediately fall asleep, and wake up in time to go to work again, because of the transit time for one of my locations at work. So I've been not having a lot of time to do shit. I'm currently in the middle of a little weekend for me, which is nice, and I'm trying to enjoy that. I like my new job still. I think it's I don't want to get too much into it, but I think to sum things up a little bit, I would say it's the kind of job where I like the people I get to work for, in the sense of like I enjoy interacting with patients, even when they're having they're maybe a lot of other people will refer to them as problem patients or would say negative things about them. You're like, they're having a rough time. I'm not going to hold that against them. And because I say that, the other side of that coin is I don't as much love working with a lot of, not all, but a lot of the people I work with. Because, yeah, I mean, a lot of people I'm sure listening already know this. If you are certain kinds of people who have to interact with healthcare a lot, you know this, but goddamn, there's a lot of people who work in healthcare who just hate anyone who's not neurotypical or who is struggling in any specific kind of way. Or actually is just having any kind of problem. I don't know what the fuck is going on there, but there's a lot of assholes. Not all assholes. Not a lot of not all assholes, but a lot of them. But yeah, what's going on with you?
So I finished Oathbringer. on graphic audio in a record 9 days. It's the longest audiobook I've had so far, but I finished it faster than the other two so far. It's real good. I had forgotten basically every major plot point,
Which is,
and
I think, absolutely hilarious.
like so many things I either thought were like footnotes to other other books, or I completely forgot about wholesale. Like I remember uh as I was reading through the Way of Kings, I was like, man, what happened to what happens to Sadius? Oh, I think at the end of this book, like he dies and like is something else happens to him next book, and then he was in the next book, and then he wasn't in the next book, and I was like, oh, I remember, I it's all coming back to me now, but before I got through it, did not remember a damn thing. So, how I got through it in a record 9 days is I stupidly have decided that I'm making people their Christmas presents this year. And my best skill for crafty things is cross stitch. And I always bite off way more than I can chew when it comes to cross stitch. So I have 3 8x10 pieces that I'm making for people. None of them excuse me. None of them have backgrounds, so it should be easier, except for the Edward Elric and Alphonse Elric from Final Fantasy Brave Exvius sprites that I'm doing for Andy. Even after dumbing down all of the colors using photop.com's color reducer, I have 40 something colors that I have to do on that one, and I'm trying to do 3 similar pieces by Christmas. So I've been listening to audiobooks and just stitching away, and it's been a fantastic week. I highly recommend. Do something stupid and easy with your hands that doesn't take brain power, and listen to a lot of books. It's a fun time. I've also started Elantris, and it is very different from every other Brandon Sanderson book.
Don't tell me too much about it. I haven't read it. I want to read it at some point, but I feel like the things I know about it already kind of taint it a lot, and so I'm like, I don't want to like...
You know the back of the box quote?
No.
Or the blurb about it? Like what it's about at all?
No, I don't actually.
Okay.
I just know there was sorry, I just have to say there was a Stormlight server I'm in as an April Fool's Day joke, rebranded the entire server to be Elantris themed, and emphasized all the weird, like, let's just fill every sentence with as many proper nouns as possible that sound fucking stupid. And I was like, y'all, I don't know what you're talking about. This makes me not want to read Elantris at all.
Yeah. So, the time in between now and when I'm ready for the next Stormlight book, I'm filling with the weird one-off offshoots of the Cosmere, and I decided to do them in release order so that it would get better and better.
Okay.
Like writing ways. But so Elantris's back of the box quote is in the kingdom of what the fuck, every now and then somebody gets blessed by the city of Elantris, and their skin turns to silver, their hair turns to white, they learn how to do magic, and they move into the city of Elantris and kind of live as gods and help people for all of eternity. But eternity ended 10 years ago. And now, basically, what when you get blessed by Elantris, it's more like a curse where now you won't die, but you also don't know how to heal. So the main character stubs his toe right as he enters Elantris, and now he has a stubbed toe for the rest of his entire life. And that's kind of a really cool setup. And then there's a lot of as I've noted throughout this current journey through the Cosmere, there's a lot of religion stuff in it, which is interesting to dig into and to think about what the Brigham Young University professor has been thinking about religion since 2006, and it's a pretty good time. I wouldn't say it's like it's probably my least favorite Cosmere work that I've read so far, but I don't think it's bad. All of the quotes and blurbs and from critics and stuff on it that are like Elantris is the best fantasy book in the last 15 years are probably true. There wasn't a lot of stuff in the last 15 years prior to Elantris coming out, but I don't think it's one of his best, but it's a fun time.
Don't forget me.
I was trying to wrap it up for a hot minute, Bernard. But yeah.
Behave.
Well, wait a second. Actually, so you said so. I've brought previously. This job lets me read a lot of books. I'm not going to talk about Brandon Sanderson. Do not worry. Don't kill me, Bernard.
Think you can take me?
So I just did want to talk about. There's a series. I can't remember if I ever talked about it on the podcast before. I recently read through the second book of the Burning Kingdom series, which is fairly new. Only 2 of the 3 books are out now. Third book comes out next month. Fantasy series that, the short pitch is, it is, hey, let's do some fantasy where India is more the inspiration. Like, the Indian subcontinent cultures are the inspiration for the cultures in the setting. And it is the story of a princess who has fallen out of favor due to her fucking megalomaniacal brother who's come to power, and how she starts trying to manipulate a maid who's not what she seems into helping her escape her imprisonment. And through that journey, the two of them falling in love. So sapphic romance, very interesting setting. It is. I don't want to get into it a lot right now, but I'm probably gonna ramble about it another time. So I'm just gonna say, holy shit, this book goes hard. And it goes hard into like my favorite thing of a writer using world building and like magic system-y sort of things and all those kind of crunchy fantasy things to elucidate something that is so true in culture or in specific parts of society. Mm-hmm. And in this case, one of those things is how there are some people who will look at women who are alive as sinful creatures who are only good for X or Y, but when they're dead, they are saintly and pure and holy, and thus give women the impression the only thing they can really do is die. To be good. And it's like, wow, that's so fucked and so true, and I hate it. But yeah, really good book.
Good. I just randomly stumbled upon a Chrome tab that had my Amazon wishlist open. My Amazon wishlist is a bunch of video games and some books. But then at the bottom it has inspired by our wishlist, that section. And there's a ceiling fan on there.
Yeah. You see PlayStation 5 discs spin around? So it's inspired by your
right rounds?
There is a PlayStation 5 Pro console on my wish list. Maybe this says bad things about its cooling. But speaking of fans...
yeah.
Speaking of fans...
and not windmills.
Let's talk about what happened this week.
With the mist generator dealt with, we can head out and go to the next area. And, like, yeah, sure, we can, But we could also head back to Rim Elm, directly disobeying what May's mom told us to do, just so we can go see what Maya and May are up to. Which is what I did.
Oh.
I
Should
did
I have
too.
done that?
I mean, you don't have to. This is a scene if you do. There's a lot of like, oh, this isn't required for the game, but you could do this if you want. And there's a scene there.
Yeah, there's a lot of those in this game, and I think it's very, very cool.
Agreed. When you enter the family dwelling, Vaughn is immediately accosted by May, who is really upset that he never told her about the plan to go look for her mom at the monastery. Our silent protagonist chooses not to mention that the town elder specifically told him not to tell her, and instead just lets his sort of girlfriend yell at him a lot. At which point Noah steps into the conversation and is really confused why May's upset. Like, wouldn't she be happy that her mom is in her life again? And then that gets Noah thinking about the fact that her mom isn't in her life, and that gets her to start sobbing uncontrollably, which is when Maya steps in and says that Noah can think of her as her mom, and that gets Noah to stop crying immediately.
And makes me start crying.
Yes. It was really sweet. May then
And
takes
Tara's like, oh, yeah, cool, I guess, sure.
Right? Okay, I was thinking that. I was like, Tara's right there. What the fuck? Oh, I'm sorry. That's not my mom. That's an armband.
Like, I get it if Noah's like, I can have an, if Noah were like, I can have an adoptive mother, but I do want to know my biological mother as well. I have feelings about that, but if Noah just wants a mother figure, but Tara doesn't count.
It's pretty fucked. Yeah. So May then takes a moment to apologize to Vaughn. She's just been really going through it. This is fair. Before the party leaves, Maya mothers Gala a little and hopes that whatever's going on with Songgi, he can be won over and stop being so much of an asshole. Anyway, back to the actual plot of this game. Heading north from the monastery, we find a new cave we can enter, and almost immediately we are confronted by a man named Old Wizard. He runs a shop/inn in this cave, and he's glad the mist is gone because now he can hopefully have some business. I'm not going to question how his shop has been open this whole time or how he's alive, because clearly a wizard did it.
Yes.
Poking around the cave, we eventually find another shop, this one run by the Old Witch. Are they divorced? Did they move to opposite sides of the cave to try to get away from each other?
Why are they both running an inn?
Why are they both running an inn?
They're two screens apart from each other.
They're two screens apart from each other, and maybe I was just lucky. I didn't encounter a random battle between them. So I don't know if there are random battles in this cave even. And if there are...
I think there were when the mist was there. Because you remember you have to go into the wizard's room and flip the switch to open the door to the witch. I think his area was open if you had explored up this way. Dr. Mist was there. But
I see.
He wasn't there, so you couldn't do the switch.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, there was you could go to the cave before. I don't think there was any reason to other than to get some spells early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I will say, I did just think the reason the inn on both sides thing is probably so that from either side of the overworld you can easily get to an inn for grinding reasons, which I should have done probably, and we'll get to that later. Anyway, no matter the answers to my silly questions, the Old Witch insists the party stay the night at the inn, even if you refuse. And so everyone goes to bed and has a dream. They all have the same dream. Together they find themselves near a ruin, where a voice that Noah thinks sounds like her mother announces itself to them all, calling itself Hari. It tells them to go to Octum, an ancient city that is exactly the same direction we were all going anyway. After everyone wakes up, they discuss the strangeness of this, and Gala says something about having the dream again, which really is making me worry that I've missed something by not seeing that earlier dream with Noah. Because I've been resting places since then, and I haven't seen a single dream scene. I don't know what's going on.
The previous dream scene with Noah was just like a light appears in a void, and it's like, Noah, I'm your mom, and Noah's like, ah.
Okay.
So I also love that No, it was like, oh, this sounds like my mom. And then everyone uses he, him pronouns. And it turns
Yes.
out that Hari is a man. I'm like,
Yes.
no, does your mom have a really deep voice or a manly voice or like what's going on here with this? Well, this is obviously a man talking to me, but it sounds like my mom.
Noah's just used to disembodied dream voices being her mom.
Yes. So, regardless of any of my possible fuck-ups, you can talk to a girl near the beds you were sleeping in who asks about dreams, and especially about Hari, saying that he is a man who lives in the dream world. Noah really wants to go see this guy, so we'd better do that. Before we can leave the cave, however, the old witch gives the party a few Door of Winds, which act like fly in a Pokemon game. It lets us travel back to any town we've already been to, which, very handy.
If you remember to use them, which I don't, I'm just like, oh man, I gotta walk all the way back to fucking Jeremy.
Yeah?
We'll get to how I accomplished this week in our memorable moments, but after like my third time of walking from Vidna to Jeremy, I bought 15 Door of Winds so that I could have them on hand.
That sounds like a good choice. Speaking of Jeremy, that's where I went to next, where I found the mist had turned all the inhabitants into monsters all shuffling around. But there is a Genesis tree at the top of their central tall tower. I don't know what that's for, but that exists. So after rooting around all the other buildings in town for loot, and stepping around all the shuffling zombies as we do so, it is time to take a bunch of elevators in a sort of maze where you have to find the right one to get up to the next level. And you find at the top there is a corrupted Seru monster who's blocking the party from getting to the tree. A corrupted Seru monster called Berserker. The name is accurate. It is boss battle time, and y'all, I don't know if I just really fucked this up.
It's hard as fuck.
Okay, I'm glad to hear it is hard as fuck. I got my ass so thoroughly handed to me, and I'm on such a time crunch to do notes this week, I couldn't beat this guy. Why is using cheat codes so hard on my emulator? It's really bogus. I don't know what the fuck's going on there. Anyway, this big bug monster hits stupid hard, has a rot status effect that prevents you from doing your fighting game moves, and has a move called Stone Circle where he summons Stonehenge around you, and if you're like me, this wipes your entire party, or if you're lucky, everyone but Vaughn.
Oh, I don't think you ever used Stone Circle on me.
You were the luckiest motherfucker.
Exactly. You are the luckiest motherfucker. It's a bullshit move.
It's been a while since I played, but I don't remember Stonehenge happening at me.
I will never forget Stonehenge happening at me.
You know, it makes me wonder who they were and what they were doing. It's at this point that I discover, by looking at the LP archive, that there's actually freedom in which parts of the archipelago you can go to. You can just skip Jeremy and go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And apparently Jeremy First is the correct place to go, but many people don't recommend it because it's so hard. Yeah. And so, let's move away from Jeremy right now, except for just saying that if you do beat it, apparently all you get is there's a scene of like, oh, we restored a Genesis tree, and the townspeople celebrate a little bit, but there's no like character scenes as much as I can tell. Anyway, the LP archive.
There's the scene with Zolin.
Yeah, there's
Zolin.
Zolin.
Who's Zolin? I didn't. That was not in the LP archive notes.
Zolin and his son and all that wasn't in the LP archive?
Then I have no idea what you're going to talk about in Vidna, because that was what I thought was the whole Vidna part, was the thing with Zolin and his son.
My head's in my fucking hands right now. I don't know what to tell you. Oh my god.
We'll talk about it later.
We'll see what's up.
We'll see what's up. Please, you can inform me if you'd like. The LP archive went to Vidna first, the only town in the islands that is not being directly affected by the mist right now, because of their windmills. And now, I already hear what you're saying, podcast listening. Now I hear what you're saying to your podcast listening device right now. Trish, that's not how windmills work. They harvest wind energy and store it. They don't create wind. excellent point, beautiful listener, but it's also completely irrelevant because Vidna is blessed with rich geothermal power, and they use that geothermal power to power things that just happen to look a lot like windmills, but are really just big fans that blow the mist away.
But they call them windmills.
Yeah, the locals
call
also call them windmills.
That's the thing is, yes, they are called. The locals do call them that. Still,
I
they're
guess
clearly not.
Yeah.
The mill part isn't happening. That's not what a mill is.
And it's creating wind, not receiving wind.
Yeah.
But hey, it got rid of the mist, so I mean, who's the idiots here? Clearly
Exactly.
us.
But also,
Clearly
I love how they constructed this big mechanical wonder to get rid of the mist, and then Rim Elm used a wall.
They didn't
Yes.
construct it to get rid of the mist. They constructed it to cool down the town, and then
Yeah, it's an unrelated benefit.
Yeah, some NPC talks about how they were created to cool down the town. Which, okay.
Yeah.
Has it ever been so hot outside that you're like, we should expend a lot of energy to make really big fans?
Yes. I'm from California. The answer to your question is yes.
Sam, we're both from Texas.
We're absolutely both from Texas. I was. My punchline was going to be,
okay.
I absolutely have.
Okay, I forgot you're from Texas. Okay. Okay, good to know we're all on the same page for that. Yeah, so yeah, there is a tour guide near the front of the town who exposits all of that. He also talks about Octum, which is a nearby city that we've been told about earlier in the game. I already went over that earlier in the notes. But this guy explains that there's a thing there called the Temple of Rem, who is apparently the god of fate. Hari is also sort of godlike, this immortal sage that everyone's really into, but also almost no one has seen Hari directly, probably because he lives in Dreamland or whatever. Also, Octum has flying wagons. I'm very excited to see what that means. Which apparently can take people over to the Callisto Kingdom, which is where we actually need to go to next. So the game has given us like 3 different reasons to go to this place at this point. Also, there's a beach in this town where you can get a set of fishing tackle, which you can use to go fishing. This game has a fishing minigame. I'll see how I think about it when I actually get to the point where I can do that.
So I found a fishing spot, and it turns out the fishing minigame is a lot.
Yeah?
It's not just cast a line, wait for
It's not some Pokemon?
No, you don't just wait for an exclamation point to appear over your head and press X. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. I mean, I like... Interesting. From that point, you can head to an area that has a bunch of Byron monks, which causes a little scene where Gala is shunned by them, and Noah has to be explained what excommunication means again, and why that makes Gala feel bad. In the process, one of them mentions Ra Seru, and a woman named Sashia, spelled in a way I have never seen that name spelled before, interrupts and tells them that she's a servant of Hari, who is told to wait here in this inn until she heard 3 young people say the words Ra Seru, so she could give them a message. Which I gotta say does lend this guy even more credibility with his weird psychic powers nonsense. Because goddamn, that's specific. The message is for them to go to the Temple of Rem, which we were already planning on doing. Okay, I'm being silly. There is some extra information. The message also says that we must see the 4 books of prophecy, and that once we have, the secret will be clear, and that a brave Ra Seru will acquire a great key, the Star Pearl. And the team is like, okay?
Did you mention that Hari said he would give us the meaning to all dreams?
Yes, I forgot. I did not mention. Yes, he also said that, which, wow, that's all dreams? All of them.
There are some dreams I've had I don't want to know the meaning of.
Same.
Also there are some dreams where I'm just like, I know the meaning. I was horny.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's where my notes for this week end. Apparently, I have been let down when it comes to Vidna. We can either cover that next time, or we could someone could take over now. Question mark?
So, when you When you beat Berserker and you free up the town and you get a lot of new NPCs you can talk to and stuff like that, everybody tells you that the the jeweler of Zalan wants to talk to you, and so you talk to Zalan, and he has a letter to give his wife and son who live in uh sorry, I think I have it backwards. When you complete Jeremy and you save Jeremy, his people are in Vidna. So you go over to Vidna, give him the letter, but his wife passed away 3 years ago because Zalan has been frozen in time for 10 years. His son is now 10 years older than he was before and living by himself. And they say some cute, sweet things. I forget exactly what it is, but then he gives.
They say his dad is nicknamed Fat Fingers because his mother loved his fat yet nimble fingers.
What? What?
Forgot about that.
Can I please forget about that? Can we get like?
I will never forget about that. So
No,
sorry.
definitely not.
Fuck.
And so he's like, well, my mom would have loved to hear from him. She missed him a lot. I'm glad that he's okay. Give him his this watch or something from his wife, something like that. A ring, and then
as you might expect.
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why it was a watch in my head. Like it didn't sound right, but I could not think of the right thing. And so
her wedding watch.
Yeah, her wedding watch. So you take her
you
Rolex.
Joke. I would take a wedding watch. My wife could give me a wedding watch, and I'd be like, babe, that's the most romantic thing. Thank you.
So you take her Rolex down to Jeremy and you give it to Zalan, and I don't remember how that happens. What happens
there's just a sweet scene and stuff, and then he gives you a special item, which increases AP accrual, and you can do this scene later. You can actually combine it with another scene later in the game because you do have to go talk to Zalan eventually, so it's no big deal. You can do all this later. You can presumably you can go talk to Zalan when you need to, and then he'll ask you to take the stuff to Vidna. But you can just not if you're a jerk.
But I'm not a jerk. I don't like being a jerk.
So let's listen to some music, and then we'll talk about our min-moms for this week, and I'll tell you how my week went with this game.
I'm excited.
So, Berserker's really hard, right?
Yeah.
So, I have not had to look up a guide this entire game so far. I have resisted looking up guides whatsoever. I'm just playing it like the good old days. So I get into Berserker and kicks my ever living ass like really, really fast. And I try to didn't have any phoenixes, so I was like, oh, I need to go buy some phoenixes. You can't buy phoenixes in this game.
Phoenixes.
I walked to every town that was available so far, and could not buy them anywhere. You would have thought I would walk to the most recent shop and check there, but I was like, well, maybe I feel like I've seen them, and I had not seen them. You cannot buy phoenixes in this game. So after all of that, I then remembered
you can actually buy Phoenix in you can buy them soon. I can't remember if you can buy them in Vidna, but you can buy them soon because I have bought some.
Okay, yeah, they're not in Vidna, but or at least they're not at the item / accessory shop in Vidna. They might be somewhere else. So I finally give up, and I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do to survive Stonehenge? This is like it does like 800 damage, and only Vaughn can survive that. And what am I supposed to do? And so I looked up, and they were like, "Oh, go to Vidna and buy a lot of forest amulets so that you can resist rot to then resist his most fuck you move, and then you just spam magic with Gala, and you can get Noah has her first super art, which is a art that is 3 hyper arts strung together. You can start doing that one now, which is really cool and does a lot of damage. And so she does that. Gala does magic, and Vaughn takes over healing, and you just try your best. So I buy the forest amulets, and I go over to the Berserker to try again. And eagle-eared listeners will hear me not mention I equipped the forest amulet.
Oh my god!
So I go through, and I of course get my ass kicked. So I try it again. I make sure I put it on, and then I go into the battle again, and I'm like, all right, this time when you get him to half health is when he starts doing the Stonehenge move. So whenever I see the Stonehenge move, I'm going to save Scum, and I'm going to do my turn. But then if he does the Stonehenge move, I'm going to reload my save, make everyone guard, and then can go through, because the Stonehenge move is supposed to come like once every 2 to 3 turns. And so if it's about to happen, if you see it happen, it's probably always going to happen then. So I am going through, and I use my hotkey to save my state basically every turn, and then of course I get wiped, and I load my state, and it loads it in the middle of the Zeto fight last week, because MuOS uses a different save state button than Newly did, so I was using the Newly hotkey and not the MuOS hotkey. So that sucked. Thankfully, RetroArch has undo last save state, so I could undo it and go right back to it. But
also, I'm pretty sure since this is a PlayStation game, your save would still be there.
Yeah, and so
your hard save.
So then I tried it again, and this time I didn't have to do any save state shenanigans to get through it. But there at the end, only Gala was alive, and he was barely alive. And I cashed in my point card finally to do some like 3,000 damage, which got it there at the very end. So then Gala got some 33,000 experience points all by himself, and it was a very weird, odd time through the game. But
How do you use your points card?
You just use it in battle. You just select an item.
I didn't know that's what it was for. I kept expecting that eventually I would get somewhere where I'd be able to spend those points on hotel rooms.
No, you use them. You spend them in battle to deal that many damage. So
damn, where can I get a credit card with those rewards in real life?
That explains. I was really curious, but I was the kind of curious where I'm like, that would be. I'm interested, but also I don't want to do something bad, and so I will be a coward and not do anything.
Yeah, it also doesn't use up the point card; it just resets it to 0. So if you, now that I've used mine, I can just go buy a lot of Door of Winds and upgrade everybody's equipment and all of that stuff, and build it back up to be able to use in a couple more boss fights.
That's really cool. So you've explained your experience this week. I said something in my notes about I had a rough time with a certain ball. I had a. Oh my god, my brain is just. I said something about my having cheat codes failing me, and how that made me very sad. To make this more clear, exactly what happened with the cheat codes. What happened was because I was mid battle, I'd already done so much damage. I got far. I feel like I was really wearing him down. I'm like, all I need is to get through this fight a little bit. I just want to do a code. Like, let me find a Game Shark code, a Codebreaker code that will let me not die. Give me some infinite health codes. And I found them, and in the process of trying to get them work, the only time they did work, I did get some that did. My character's HP was all 99999 and wouldn't go down. But what happened then is I get one turn of that, and then if I went to go to do another turn, none of my characters got to do moves, and whenever they were supposed to do a move, the boss would attack instead. So the boss just had 4 attacks per turn, and I didn't do anything, and it wouldn't. And turning off the code didn't stop, and I had to load the save with the code off, and I was like, "Well, fuck, I don't." And I was also exhausted and out of time, and so apologies, listeners. That's why the notes are the way they are this week.
I am looking up a video of. Okay, I found a video of the Berserker fight in the long play. I'm going to see it do this attack so I can see if I recognize it, because I don't remember it, but my memory is bad. Y'all can keep talking.
Okay, please look that up. You mentioned this in we talked about this a little bit in the notes a little bit, Sam, but I do really love that this game has like rewarded me multiple times where I'll just be like, hey, we progressed the story a little bit. What happens if I go back to Rim Elm and see characters I know? And the game's like, oh, you decided to do that? Cool. Here's a cool little scene. And I'm like, game? I didn't expect you to actually do that. That's so sweet of you.
Yeah, there's quite a few of those. There's some in Rim Elm. I think there was one in Byron Monastery. Go back to. A lot of cool stuff like that. I found a couple of them. I can't remember what they were.
Yeah, no, I enjoy that those are there, but they're there in a very like you said. This isn't necessary for the game. It is a totally optional side thing, but it's a very rewarding optional side thing.
Sorry, I was to keep my hands busy while I was listening and participating in the podcast. I was doing a cross stitch, but I accidentally put the stitch in the wrong spot, and now I'm trying to unstitch it. And it's not working, but a cross stitch is just an X. It's not a complicated thing to untie, and it's not untying, and it's blowing my mind.
Stone Circle isn't Stonehenge; it's just stone pillars.
Okay, well, it gave me Stonehenge vibes. It's not literally Stonehenge. I was comedically exaggerating for effect.
Look, they're circular pillars, unless it's rectangular prisms, and there's at least one instance of one being set horizontally on top of 2 others which are set vertically. I don't buy it. But yes, I do believe it used the Stone Circle move against me. So I guess I'm just good at the game.
Yeah, I think so.
I wish I was good at the game like Bernard is.
No, I'm definitely not. But I did feel really cool figuring out the super move, though, because I was just trying to squeeze as many moves into Noah's gigantic ATB bar as I possibly could, and I noticed that there are some that the end of their combo is the beginning of another combo, and so I just did that for 3 times, and I was able to get 3 of them to fit. So then they did 3. And then she did a 4th one, and it did a lot of damage, and it's really, really cool.
That's awesome. I was not aware of that.
I was not either. I thought I learned something new, because it does whenever you learn a special art or do a hyper art or whatever, it does the like camera angle from underneath. So it did that, and I was like, oh, I learned something. And then I looked in my thing, and I didn't learn anything. I was like, what the heck? Like, what was that then? And then I figured out that it's because I did 3 special arts back to back.
That's absurdly cool. I really like that. I'm gonna do that when I play more.
Good news for next week. There's going to be a heal all spell that we can learn.
Yeah, I that was in the LP archive thing. That's apparently it was mentioned as a thing that makes that Berserker boss fight much easier if you get that ahead of time. And I'm like, yeah, that does sound like it makes it a lot easier. That sounds like a thing I wish the game had given it. I have two minor complaints with this game. Just they're not huge. They're just little things I want to say. One of them is I feel like getting a heal all spell would have been nice earlier. And the second one is I just the MP is really stingy in this game.
It
Like-
is weirdly stingy. Like, your heal spell is dirt cheap. Your shitty fire spell is a third of your HP.
Yes.
Or your third of your MP, but still. It's ridiculous.
Oh, you want the really good fire spell that's actually like super worth using? Oh, that's like you could do that maybe twice.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to use these if they're gonna be so good that using them like could fuck me over. Like that I won't be able to do anything else. Like
I am learning to work with the economy of this game's MP. Mainly just trying to think, okay, if I use this spell, how many heals will I theoretically have left?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going somewhere where I'm going to have to fight a boss? Probably. Thinking about those kinds of things. I'm finding it kind of annoying, but also kind of interesting.
Yeah, I have most recently in my Dragon Quest playthroughs played through the early ones where you don't, like in Dragon Quest 1, 2, when Dragon Quest 2 and 3, you can have one revival on you at all times, tops. And so it's a lot more stingy with the heal sort of things. And so I haven't minded how item reliant I am or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely annoying where I look up the how to kill the berserker and they're like, "Oh, have Noah spam the wind spell, Wingly or whatever the fuck it's called." And so I spam it as in I use it twice and then I'm out of MP. And
yeah,
it gets frustrating, but otherwise I'm really enjoying this game. It had been a hot minute
It's good.
since I played since we didn't do it last week, and I've been just throwing myself into cross stitch and audiobooks. So it was fun to come home and play some Legend of Legaia. And now I'm ready for another week where I don't get to play it. Because next week I will not be here. I will be in Texas. My sister is getting married, and by my sister getting married, I mean I am taking my partner to my favorite Texan Mexican food restaurants.
that sounds delightful. I hope the wedding goes good. I realized as I was saying, like, that sounds weird. I hope the wedding's like, yeah, they're gonna get married. It'll be a wedding. But yeah,
I mean, a wedding is also it's a big planned event. Those can go well or poorly.
true.
There could be some sort of catering disaster or something.
I just found one of my cross stitch needles that I had dropped like a week ago, and I found it by stepping on it, and I got a little bit of a boo-boo.
Oh no!
But I'm mostly excited because this needle was one of my really thin ones, which makes it easy to do cross stitch.
Did you find it in the haystack?
I have a carpeted bedroom, so basically, it's a little bent, but it'll be okay. But yeah. Other than that, I think we're done with this episode. It's a little shorty, but it's a goodie. Tune in next week when you guys do something, because I won't be able to look at you and tell you to not do it. And then we'll be back for more Legend of Legaia after that. But if you like what you heard today, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate to help support us. If you do, you can get some extra benefits. At $1 a month, the Gadabout tier gets access to our bonus feed, where we have after shows for every episode, as well as bonus seasons of the show that are backer only. At $5 a month, the Warrior tier gets the above, but also gets their name shouted out at the end of every episode, a little bit like this. Shoutouts to Frosthair, Dragonslayer 19, Florus, Keldranus, Freddy Rodriguez, Aaron524, and Jfro Prime. And then at $20 a month, the Luminary tier gets all of the above, plus a 1-sentence shout out to whatever they're passionate about. So shouts to El Tantavi, who wants you to check out Aftermath.site, a worker-owned, reader-supported news site covering video games, the internet, and the cultures that surround them. Shoutouts to Vimke, who says she dressed herself from head to toe in polymer and synthetic weave. And then shout out to It's Clear Time, who says, for the Americans, here's your reminder to vote. Your voice really matters this year, especially in local elections. And shout outs to Carr, who is a dentist, so he isn't plugging a website, but rather your own mouth, and he says to brush your teeth twice a day, most importantly, the time before you go to bed. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam.
I'm Bernard.
Say goodbye.
I was wondering what you were doing. And I'm Trish. I knew you were up to something. God damn it.
Toodaloo, folks.
Toodaloo!